kicked off the U.S. Tour Thursday in Cincinnati, Ohio, with their next stop tonight in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? We believe your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your home with a LifeSource whole house system. Clean water from every tap, no salt, no hassle. Call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com.
Warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are one win away from going back to the World Series. They beat Milwaukee 3-1 Thursday night to take a 3-0 lead in the National League Championship Series. Another dominant performance by the Dodgers pitching staff. 5 pitchers limited Milwaukee to 4 hits. Milwaukee is scoreless in 16 of the last 18 innings in the series. The Dodgers can finish off Milwaukee tonight. First pitch at 5:30. The Lakers and Clippers wrap up their preseason schedule tonight. The Lakers are at home against Sacramento. Their regular season opener is Tuesday against Golden State. The Clippers are at Golden State tonight. They play their regular season opener Wednesday at Utah. The Rams are flying to London this morning after a week-long stay in Baltimore. They play Jacksonville Sunday morning. The Chargers are at home Sunday against the 5-1 Indianapolis Colts. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for Black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing, racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
To resist. You tell me that you want me. I try to hide my feelings. DOGs ain't supposed to feel like it. Call it what you want to, but I don't even know what this is. Got me singing in the morning. You bring me breakfast in my bed, and when it hurts, you rub my head. I'll ask you one time only, baby, could you be there when it's hectic, when I don't have a directive? Leave me alone, never leave me alone. Leave me alone, never leave me alone. Never leave me alone, never leave me alone. Leave me alone, never leave me alone. Never leave me alone.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm so excited. I'm always excited when he is with me. He is a storied attorney. He's in private practice now at Douglas Hicks Law in Los Angeles, and he has been named Trial Lawyer of the Year, back in 2006. But you know him as the managing attorney at the law offices of Johnny Cochran. He was there for over 11 years until he started his own law firm, but he was part of OJ Simpson's criminal defense dream team that was all over the media and what I would call the dawning of the social media age, even though we weren't on social media. OJ trial was the trial of the century. Everybody was tuned in. It was like social media, even though it was on cable TV. We were riveted by it. And of course, attorney Carl Douglas was part of that team, that dream team. I can't believe it's been 30 years. Welcome back to the show, attorney Carl Douglas.
My sister, it is always a pleasure to answer the phone when you call, and I just enjoy being with your listeners.
It's got to be wild for you, 30 years since the OJ Simpson trial. I mean, that marks when I came to LA, but it doesn't seem like 30 years, does it?
It's amazing thinking back because there are like 5-year intervals when people begin again thinking about this case. It is such an iconic moment. And every 5 years, I'll be there to talk about it because it's still something that fascinates others always. On this anniversary, people have remarked how, like you, they can't believe it's been 30 years. And they always go back to that day, October 3rd, 1995, and remember what they were doing around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock that morning when they heard the verdict.
And when you look back at each 5-year increment, does it seem different to you or does it seem the same? I would imagine processing that verdict through this justice reality, which you kind of wrote a column about. I mean, that's part of your column. It feels different.
Every 5 years gives me an opportunity to reflect on that verdict in the context of the times with which we find ourselves. During the Obama years, things were more hopeful. During the first Trump years, there was this sense of despair. Rarely have I seen it as dry, as dreary and dire as it is now. I think back on that time in 1995, Bill Clinton was the president, and I think about he responded to the verdict in a manner that the public followed their lead. He didn't talk about the jurors' intelligence. He didn't call the verdict a miscarriage of justice. He spoke and supported the process of law, the rule of law. And that's really what's so very missing today. You know, I was driving down Angeles Vista this morning, getting here to your station, and the rule of law was the reason why I stopped at the stop signs. The rule of law is the reason I let somebody to my right go before me. There were flashing red lights, and the rule of law had such power with us in our community that all the cars would stop at that flashing red light, following the rule of law. When our leaders don't promote the rule of law, when they are indicting those that try to support our nation's laws vindictively, we all are at risk. And in this moment, I looked at this iconic time in our history, and I wonder how things could have been worse if that verdict had been issued today.
I mean, I think about what Donald Trump would say, not only about the jurors, not only about the public celebrating, as we did back in 95, but about the actual judge, about the system itself, you know, the city of Los Angeles, probably the attorneys.
He would have talked about the racial dynamics of the jury and how infirm Black people's intelligence is. He would have driven a greater wedge, I fear, than was already driven in that moment in 1995.
And the wedge was pretty big. I mean, honestly, a lot of people were celebrating not whether they thought OJ was guilty or whether they didn't think he was guilty, because we were sick of the injustice system. And it was, you know, I don't know if you feel it was a nullification, but it felt like a jury nullification.
You know, I was there for 9 months, and I continue to feel, and I will probably feel until I take my last breath, that the jury voted not whether OJ was guilty or innocent, but that the prosecution had failed in their solemn obligation to prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't quarrel with anyone that says, he probably did it, that it's more likely than not that he did it. But whether there was a reasonable doubt, I will go to my grave believing there was.
And that's the standard.
Correct.
That's the standard.
Here in America, we would rather have nine guilty people be found innocent than one innocent person be convicted of a crime. And that's just the foundation upon which our criminal justice system is built. And I fear if that case had been in this environment, the reactions would have been far different than they were.
Honestly, Attorney Carl Douglas, I feel like if the OJ verdict happened today with this president, it could have set off a civil war.
I try to think more positively, but I understand the perspective that you offer. Certainly, he would have done everything in his power to inflame the public, which is what our leaders did not do in 1995, even if they disagreed with the juror's verdict.
I mean, Miles, you probably think I'm being hyperbolic because you were too young to even be there. He was probably in his mom's womb at that time. But the point is, you had to be there to see the level of tension. The tension was insane. Every white person I met practically, particularly in a professional setting, would ask me where I was on OJ. It became a litmus test about whether you were a good Negro or a bad Negro. And so it was really heightened.
And it's really, even in this age of social media, it's hard for OGs like me to explain to those who didn't know how all-consuming that trial was here in Los Angeles in that moment. Every liquor store had it on. Every barbershop had it on. It was the number one thing that millions and millions of people lived with every day for 9 months. And so that all-consuming nature of that trial really leads to why it is in its iconic nature. Whenever anyone hears that I was involved in the OJ case, whether they are liberal or conservative, white, black, or brown, they are always fixated and wants to engage in conversations about that verdict. They talk about where they were in that moment, even now, 30 years later.
Wow. And do they, what's the one question they always asking you over and over and over again?
Of course, everyone wants to know if I think he did it or not.
Really?
Everyone always, that's always the question that they ask. And I always give my same answer for 30 years. But that's some of my white colleagues. It's interesting. Last weekend, I was at my 45th law school reunion in Berkeley, California. And I am one of the more popular alums from the Bolt Hall School of Law. But even then, with all of my gray-haired colleagues sitting in the audience with me, they were still enraptured talking about things about the trial. And I view myself as a storyteller. So I have certain stories that I always tell in my mind that leads to the inescapable conclusion, not that he was guilty or innocent, but that the prosecution had failed in their obligation. And that's what I always stress to listeners whenever I can. It is not the defendant's burden. The prosecution accepts the burden of proving someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
We're talking with Attorney Carl Douglas on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MAJOR25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MAJOR25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Stop settling for weak sound. It's time to level up your game and bring the boom. Hit the town with the ultra-durable LG X Boom portable speaker and enjoy vibrant sound wherever you go. Elevate your listening experience to new heights because, let's be real, your music deserves it. The future of sound is now with LG X Boom. And for a limited time, save 25% at LG.com with code FALL25. Bring the boom. X Boom.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-259-9922. 800-259-9922. That's 800-259-9922.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy place every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney Carl Douglas is my guest. It's always great to talk with you. We were talking off the mic, and I just think, I mean, you've done so many important cases since OJ. You're still in very active practice, civil rights law, police abuse. But this case just follows you around, the OJ Simpson case. Don't you ever get sick of it and just want to tell people to bug off?
No. And it's funny because I used to hope that the OJ trial, whenever it happens, will be in the second paragraph of my obituary. I'm sure it will probably be in the first. And I embrace it. I embrace it, one, because I'm still a practicing lawyer. I embrace it because I'm proud of the job that our team did defending someone who was accused of murder. I embrace it because it was a moment in history that will live on for decades, where it proved that excellence comes in all colors.
Did you see, to me, it is the beginning of the social media era, even though really social media doesn't come into prominence until a couple decades later. But just this idea that we're all fixated on reality TV.
Everyone talked about it. It was all talked about. Indeed.
Yeah, we were obsessed.
Correct.
Do you think that the pop culture reaction, the way that rappers and actors and pundits were talking about it. We didn't have Instagrams and TikToks then, but we were all talking about it, writing about it. Do you think that played a role in the outcome or the way that we processed the OJ verdict and trial?
Because the jury was sequestered for 9 months, they were unable to listen to the news. They couldn't read a newspaper. Everything about their receipt of information was controlled by sheriff deputies. I don't think the noise outside of the case impacted the verdict in the trial, and I feel strongly about that. I do think, however, that the reaction of the public was amplified because of factors in the case. It was the perfect storm of things that we Americans hold dear: race, sex, celebrity. It was a murder mystery. OJ was the most famous celebrity ever charged with murder. We Americans, black and white, love to see our celebrities be built up, but we enjoy as much watching them fall.
Yeah. I also was looking in terms of how we processed it as the public. Like, I don't know, I'm sure you probably don't remember this, but I was new to LA and I did a show. I was doing talk radio show called Street Science. And I had a bunch of the right-wing pundits on my show, including Larry Elder, Tom Likas, and others, to talk about OJ. And the reason that happened is because my listeners were calling me and saying, these people are talking about black people like dogs every day. The racism is so out of control, and they use OJ as the excuse to do that. And they wanted me to do something about it. So I called these guys in, and unbelievably, they answered, not knowing who I was, and walked into the hornet's nest. And we were going at it. I got to find that tape.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful conversation.
It was wild. Yeah, it was crazy. In fact, I got to get you a copy of that. But the thing about it is that conversation came about because the public, the Black American LA public, was demanding their own chance to speak about this. As you know, right-wing radio was all white, and that was all we had. We didn't even have social media to clap back. And they were using OJ as an excuse to defile black people all day and all night.
And certainly that was the reaction to the dichotomy in the public's reaction to the verdict. And my white friends never understood how black people could celebrate a person who was found not guilty of such a heinous crime. And unless you understand the history of race relations in Los Angeles, unless you understand the occasions where in this city seemingly acts of injustice were never found proper in the criminal justice system, can you really attempt to understand the reaction of the public to the verdict? That is something that so angers white conservative colleagues of mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just like the song F the Police by, Eazy-E and NWA, is that it's shocking. It was shocking at the time for people that weren't black, people that didn't come from the hood, people that didn't know and understand the dynamic between black people and police. And that's where I see the role of pop culture coming into politics, the law, and even, the public discourse. In that
but also,
way.
It wasn't about OJ per se.
Right.
That's what they didn't understand. It wasn't about OJ. It was about the celebration of an overturning a seeming injustice, decades, probably centuries even long.
Right.
And that was the complex response that white folks didn't understand.
Right.
It wasn't about OJ.
It was the justice system on
Correct.
trial. It wasn't even OJ
It
for
wasn't
us.
OJ.
It was the justice system. He could have been Michelet for all we cared. But yeah, on the other hand, I did understand my bonus mom, who's black, was very dismayed because she felt that he did it. And she felt that black people were taking an unprincipled position.
And when you have a case where a police officer, one of the primary detectives, admits that he lied under oath to convict someone whom he thought was guilty, if the prosecution could win against OJ Simpson, given that factual fact, none of us are safe.
Right. Yeah. Maybe.
None of us would be safe.
So in a sense, it could have been the Mark Furman trial.
Yes, it is. The public doesn't understand how unique and rare it was that an officer on the stand took the Fifth Amendment when asked about planting evidence, when there were clear signs of tampering with evidence. I don't care if he did it. I believe the police cheated to convict someone whom they thought was guilty. I understand how in a civil courtroom where the burden is only 50.001%, a civil jury could find him liable. I would dare say if they were black people and the question was, is there a more likely than not probability that he committed these crimes, I bet 12 black people would say yes.
Mm-hmm. Reasonable doubt,
Of
not
course,
so much.
not so much.
Yeah.
There were reasons to doubt, I say.
Okay, so this may seem like a stretch, but here's where I would bring in Diddy, because a lot of folks are saying he should have got more time, and some other folks are saying he shouldn't have been brought into court at all. And I feel like part of that is a lack of understanding. What Diddy was actually convicted of, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is your chance to correct me, please. What he was actually convicted of typically doesn't get much time at all, right?
Correct. The Mann Act was first put in place in the 1920s. There was such a disgust by white legislators of the idea of Caucasian women traveling across state lines with black men.
Was Jack Johnson, right?
It was because of Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson, the boxer.
The boxer.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that they created this law. So if you have someone traveling across lines for sexual gratification, that becomes a federal crime called the Mann Act. It is rarely prosecuted. The sentence that was imposed was far less than even the probation department recommended. It was probably almost less than a third than what the prosecution had recommended.
Right, they wanted 11 years.
11 years. So I always thought from the very beginning that the case had been overcharged.
Yeah, you did say that on this show.
I always thought it was a 2 to 4 year sentence. For the defense to suggest that he be allowed to go home for time served, I understand that was something that Diddy and his supporters probably insisted that his lawyers do. But I thought the sentence was fair, though, because he was a celebrity and because all eyes were watching, it was inevitable that he would have to serve more time.
You thought it was fair? It seemed long to me, but I guess I'm comparing it to what guys get for soliciting prostitutes, which is usually nothing.
The fact that this was involving an iconic celebrity that was the talk of the nation, if not the world at some point, is a factor, regrettably, that judges consider.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, Diddy is without fault and, he's just a victim, but you only get to sentence people for what they are convicted of, not what you think about them, not what wasn't even tried in court. Like, people are mad about domestic violence. That's what they have on tape, but that's not what was in the courtroom, right?
And I understand technically the judge is charged with convicting or sentencing a defendant for the acts for which he was convicted. But in addition, I realize that everything that the judge heard about the defendant, the judge can, as a human being, and will, as a human being, factor in. Nothing about this case went according to as it should be from the very beginning. And that, I think, if Diddy had not been Diddy, he probably would never have been prosecuted. The whole concept of him having a criminal enterprise was always viewed as a stretch.
So the judge can consider things that Diddy wasn't, or anyone wasn't convicted of, things they heard during the trial.
The totality of the information in the case, yes. The judge can't consider the actual charges for which he was found not guilty when imposing a sentence, but the judge can consider the entire realm of information that the judge learned about the defendant, including information for which he was not convicted, that the judge believed on his own impacts his threat to the community or impacts the need to impose a sentence that speaks of justice.
Okay, see, I didn't know that, because when he said, the people were afraid for their lives and this and this and that, to me, it felt like he was referencing the domestic violence piece, for which Diddy was not even charged.
That the judge was persuaded that Diddy had a means to exert violence on those he was against or were against him is an underlying theme of the case that the judge could consider. Certainly, the judge was always concerned about his threat of danger to the community when the judge had a ruling about bail after the trial.
And he kept him in prison. Which I thought was very strange.
And that certainly signaled that the judge was not intending to release him on time served at a sentencing.
For sure,
that was clearly that. So, given the fact that the probation department recommended more time, that this is more than half of what the prosecution recommended, though they had always overreached, I thought it was a 2 to 4 year case.
And you called it. Attorney Carl Douglas is my guest. I want to, I have more questions. Of course, I have more questions.
Surely.
When we come forward, when we continue this conversation, I want to ask you about my confusion about this Palisades fire guy. And also, I want to ask you about how much time Diddy will actually serve, because some folks are telling me he'll serve half of that, and some are saying he'll have to serve the whole thing. And I don't know if the rules are different for state or federal, so maybe you can clear that up. Attorney Carl Douglas, next on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, I can.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. LAPD are currently urging more victims to come forward after USC grad student Sihei Wang was charged with drugging and raping 3 women.
Evidence was recovered at Wang's residence that corroborated his involvement in drug-facilitated sexual assaults of multiple victims, dating back to 2021 and continuing into 2025.
The 30-year-old Chinese national faces 8 felonies and is being held without bail. House Speaker Mike Johnson and Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries may face off in a debate on C-SPAN's new show, Ceasefire. Jeffries accepted the challenge, saying he looks forward to discussing key issues with opposing viewpoints. And LAPD has seized surveillance footage from singer David's Hollywood Hills rental home, hoping to learn if Celeste Rivas Hernandez was there before her death. Her body was found in a Tesla registered to him. No suspects have been named. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? We believe your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your home with a LifeSource whole house system. Clean water from every tap, no salt, no hassle. Call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com.
Warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are 1 win away from going back to the World Series. They beat Milwaukee 3-1 Thursday night to take a 3-0 lead in the National League Championship Series. Another dominant performance by the Dodgers pitching staff. 5 pitchers limited Milwaukee to 4 hits. Milwaukee is scoreless in 16 of the last 18 innings in the series. The Dodgers can finish off Milwaukee tonight. First pitch at 5:30. The Lakers and Clippers wrap up their preseason schedule tonight. The Lakers are at home against Sacramento. Their regular season opener is Tuesday against Golden State. The Clippers are at Golden State tonight. They play their regular season opener Wednesday at Utah. The Rams are flying to London this morning after a week-long stay in Baltimore. They play Jacksonville Sunday morning. The Chargers are at home Sunday against the 5-1 Indianapolis Colts. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Tavis Smiley with a final word here about the upcoming Left Coast Forum on Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. As you know by now, our major keynoters include Professor Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. LA Mayor Karen Bass will be there as well. But listen to some of these plenaries: fighting for Black students and educational equity, resilience under Trumpism, how to stay sane under fascism, the battle for democracy, what's at stake in 2026, healthcare under attack, fighting Trump's cuts, and building patient power from seed to system, building a local food economy in South LA, theater as a force for change, voices from Palestine. The Constitution is not self-reinforcing, racism on the left, building communities of care, federal changes and their impact on healthcare in LA County, Committee for the First Amendment, and more. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney Carl Douglas is with me. And, when I have an attorney, and especially one as brilliant as Attorney Carl Douglas, I am going to pick your brain about a lot of different things. So we started out talking about OJ because it's been 30 years, amazingly, since that case, since that verdict. But segued into Diddy. We had a conversation about that earlier. So does he have to serve the full 4 years? Well, sometimes it seems like they serve a lot less, a percentage of their time. What are the rules?
Just for background, one of my first jobs as a lawyer was working in the Federal Public Defender's Office here in Los Angeles for my first 5 years before working in Johnny's office. And in the federal system, which is different from the state system, you can serve 85% of your time with good behavior. There was always imposed in every prison system, state or federal, an incentive for inmates to follow the rules. And if you follow the rules, you'll have your sentence reduced by 85%. 85% of 50 months is 3.5 years. 36 plus 6 is 42 months. He's already served 13 months. So you subtract 13 months from the 42 months he's going to serve, and you have 29 months more.
Okay.
And that is how the calculation would go. Typically, he'll serve it in a less secure type of an environment.
Right. And they requested a certain prison that we don't know if the judge is going to grant that or not. But the judge did say that he should serve time near to New York.
Okay. And for the last 4 months of his sentence, often he is allowed to transition to a halfway house so that he can work, so he can do, but come back every night.
I see.
That's like a transitional thing.
Okay, so the judge said the court won't recommend a facility, won't recommend a specific facility, but will recommend a facility in the geographic location of the defense's choosing.
Judges are very loath to interfere with the workings of the prison systems. So they don't want to order he be placed at a certain facility because they leave that to the prison and their own internal security protocol, but they can recommend a certain geographical area, and they often do. There are low security prisons, for example, in Santa Barbara at Lompoc, where there's a level 4 prison and there's a camp outside of that. But there are other facilities in the federal system throughout the country with a range of different security levels. Diddy is probably on the lowest of those levels, like Martha Stewart was, for example, Bernie Madoff, for example.
So do you think that, he'll get it easier because he's a celebrity, or does he have it harder because he's a celebrity?
Because he is a celebrity, he will be embraced by the inmates who will be around him. They will be nonviolent, probably intelligent. They will, I'm sure, want to pick his brain.
He'll be there with Sam Altman and the tech bros.
Bernie Madoff, that kind, exactly.
Yeah.
Those kinds of guys. There will probably be people that he has done business with, or he knows from the streets of New York, ironically. So it's going to be far easier than the circumstance he finds himself in now, where they're all different levels of inmates in pre-trial, pre-sentence facilities.
So let me be clear, make sure I'm clear on the sentencing situation, on what he'll serve. Because it's federal, he can do 85% of his
Correct.
time, plus the transitional time in the halfway house.
Correct.
And plus the judge is now saying if he does a rehab program designated by the judge while he's in prison, he can take another 12 months off of his sentence.
Again, that is an incentive for Diddy to, as like a carrot. You do this and you can even reduce your sentence more.
So he could end up serving a little over a year more.
Yes,
if he does rehab and all that.
If all of those conditions are successfully followed in the future, yes, that's possible.
If he was in state prison, would he have the opportunity to do even less time, or is it the same rules?
And I'm not sure about the rules in New York and California. Yes, you can get 50% half time for good behavior.
Okay, so if he was in California state prison, that's why some people are saying, oh, he's going to do time served, or he's going to do a year and a half. It's because they're confusing the state rules with the federal rules.
Correct. There's a more generous day for day assumption in California when you're in prison for good behavior.
So whatever difficulties or extra burdens he may have had as a celebrity during the trial, during the charging, and certainly the court of public opinion, may be offset by the advantages of celebrity once you're inside the prison system.
There'll be an assortment of different factors for the prison system to consider. How much time he has still to do, whether he is a security risk. Because of the nature of his crime, the Mann Act, it's not a crime of violence. It's not something that he personally benefited from. So those are going to lower his security levels. Now, if there's some suggestion that he is at personal risk, that might impact how he would be housed. But I would expect he would be in a facility that we generally know as Club Fed.
Are the feds, the fact that the feds basically came out with egg on their face here? I mean, we are told that the federal government, federal prosecutors don't lose. And they really did kind of lose here. I mean, they got a couple small charges. Is that affecting the way he's going to be sentenced, the way he's going to be processed going forward? Will they come back with some other charges? No.
This is now a new administration. It would not be shocking to me if the president impacted Diddy's sentence or grants a pardon or any myriad of things, there has been such a disruption in the way the Justice Department has been run and is now being run. It's hard to predict what might happen. I think it's fair to say there will not be continued prosecution of Sean Combs moving forward as long as number 47 is still in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, Trump said he wasn't a part of them because he was mad about some things Diddy said, which is funny. He loves saying the quiet part out loud. But to your point, it's highly unlikely that they would probably bring back another case against Diddy. They're too busy prosecuting Letitia James and
this was such a rejection of their entire theory by the jury's response. The jury basically rejected Cassie and the other physical female witnesses. The jury basically said that the prosecution had overcharged and convicted him of the low-hanging fruit, where basically the defense lawyers conceded he had written checks and paid for airplane tickets and hotel rooms, that kind of thing. You could tell by the press conference that the lawyers had after the trial that they were jubilant. They were celebrating. This was a big win for them, and it was a stinging defeat for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of New York.
I mean, if you're those prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office or you're Chris Darden, or in other words, when you lose a big case like this, how much of a hit is that to your career, your future earnings, your future promotions as an attorney?
The public has a short memory. One, it doesn't impact one's career in the office. There were 6 different prosecutors working on this case in New York. I represented Diddy's head of security, Fahim Muhammad, and I dealt with the women prosecutors who were younger but experienced. So I don't think because a single trial, however big, was lost, it would impact them in the same way that the OJ trial impacted Chris Darden and Marsha Clark's careers.
Because it was so high profile.
Correct, causing them, but they left the office and wrote books and made millions of dollars and were on TV more, acting as legal analysts for E! Entertainment, for example. And they were able to take advantage of that celebrity and cash in on it.
They turned the L into money, but they still have to live with that L.
Indeed.
Attorney Carl Douglas is my guest, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history, and we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580. September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dominique DePrima here with attorney Carl Douglas. Douglas Hicks Law is his firm now, and that's where you can find him on social media, right? Douglas Hicks Law. You're active on social media. You have a website. If you got a civil rights case, you can try to get him. Good luck. There's a long line. There's a line around the block, but you still have cases going, and we appreciate your taking time out to talk with us.
Always a pleasure, my sister. Always a pleasure.
Okay, so this man, this Jonathan Rinderknecht, who used to live in Palisades, he's Sherry Bell said he's a Florida man because that's where they arrested him. He was arrested for starting the Palisades fire. And how does this change anything? What does this mean? Why now?
Well, every fire that occurs or impacts federal land is investigated by federal prosecutors. January the 1st of 2025, there was something called the Lachman Fire, which is in an area of hills above Palisades. The feds have done an extensive investigation, including interviewing Mr. Rinderknecht, and they have caught him 10 times out of Sundays with GPS verifications. They've gone on his social media. They've looked at his computer. They know where he was because they even interviewed his last 2 Uber passengers who said weeks later, he dropped me off right near where the Lachman fire started, and he was angry and agitated. They remembered that. Well, once that fire was put out, the feds suggest that there was something called a heavy load, and that the embers from that fire continued to simmer for 6 days.
Yeah, that's creepy.
When the winds on January the 7th whipped up, the feds say the winds then caused the embers from the roots of the Lachman fire to reignite 6 days later, even though the fire department had hoses that they left at the Lachman fire extra days just to make sure they watered down all of the hot spots and embers. So the feds say that the reignition of those embers 6 days later started the Palisades fire, and it wasn't started by cigarettes. There are cameras that are monitored from UC San Diego that show the hillside all above Malibu and Palisades. I didn't know this. Those cameras show Redneck's car somewhere down a hiking trail that he knew about.
I didn't know that either. By that, we should be able to find out what happened to Mitrice Richardson. Another case for another day.
Yes.
But I saw a former prosecutor from the LA County DA's office on TikTok criticizing the feds, saying, why are they laying out their whole case in the press conference, and saying that is not wise and it's kind of unusual.
Because, I don't know, the interim U.S. attorney in Los Angeles is under great public criticism for his being a stooge of the 47th president. And he has put a lot of emphasis on supporting ICE and indicting and arresting workers who have been accused of endangering ICE agents.
Right. Not to mention he helped get that sheriff's deputy off, the Winco guy.
So he is taking this time to trout out this case so that he can change the public perception and generate goodwill.
Oh, he's using it to rehab his image.
That is exactly why he is doing this, because the far greater prosecution would be a state prosecution of the 12 people that died in the fire. And that's really where justice should be best served.
Right. And people are confused. The Palisades fire has a different ignition point than the Eaton Canyon Altadena fire. That is the one that Southern California Edison is on the hook for. Palisades is the one that they're saying was started by this little fire. And so he's rehabbing his image, but could that endanger his win? Because now whoever's defending this guy knows exactly what they have on him and what they're planning, what their angle's going to be.
In order to secure the criminal information, the charge against Mr. Riddeneck, the prosecutors had to submit a declaration that is public information that lays out the case.
So they could have gotten it anyway.
Correct.
Even if he wasn't over here grandstanding.
Correct. These facts are something that's part of the public record, and they were all going to be producible at some point anyway.
Doesn't it point the finger back at the fire department in a way? Because now, I mean, I get that you left a hose there, but surely this is what you do professionally. It can't be the first time you've realized that embers can stick around for 6 days.
And there's some criticism because generally the protocol is they create a line from the edge of the last fire and dig up dirt so that there's a space
right
before there's any other shrubbery. That line is supposed to be at least 1.5 times whatever the largest vegetation is in that area. They say the vegetation was 12 feet high, so they should have created an 18-foot gap so that there'd be enough of a spread around the edge of the Latchman fire. Investigators say that gap was maybe 20 inches instead of 18 feet.
Yikes.
Which might be another reason how the reignition of that old ember could have set new brush on fire. Fire departments, however, in California and most states are immune from being sued for doing their job. If they are late getting to your house when you call, if they run out of water because the fire extinguishers run dry, the department is protected by state immunities from being sued. So if the issue is, did this young man, 29 years old, the former Uber driver, set the fire, that could impact the successful prosecution of lawsuits from the 6,800 structures that were burned in Palisades and Malibu, as opposed to 12,000 structures in Eaton. And it's clear that the fire was set by a tower owned by Southern California Edison.
Attorney Carl Douglas, you always are full of such interesting insights and great stories. Thank you so much for being with us. We can find you at Douglas Hicks Law, right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. It is always a pleasure being on your show.
Look forward to doing it again.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. LAPD are currently urging more victims to come forward after USC grad student Sihei Wang was charged with drugging and raping 3 women.
Evidence was recovered at Wang's residence that corroborated his involvement in drug-facilitated sexual assaults of multiple victims, dating back to 2021 and continuing into 2025.
The 30-year-old Chinese national faces 8 felonies and is being held without bail. House Speaker Mike Johnson and Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries may face off in a debate on C-SPAN's new show, Ceasefire. Jeffries accepted the challenge, saying he looks forward to discussing key issues with opposing viewpoints. And LAPD has seized surveillance footage from singer David's Hollywood Hills rental home, hoping to learn if Celeste Rivas Hernandez was there before her death. Her body was found in a Tesla registered to him. No suspects have been named. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? We believe your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your home with a LifeSource whole house system. Clean water from every tap, no salt, no hassle. Call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com.
Warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are 1 win away from going back to the World Series. They beat Milwaukee 3-1 Thursday night to take a 3-0 lead in the National League Championship Series. Another dominant performance by the Dodgers pitching staff. 5 pitchers limited Milwaukee to 4 hits. Milwaukee is scoreless in 16 of the last 18 innings in the series. The Dodgers can finish off Milwaukee tonight. First pitch at 5:30. The Lakers and Clippers wrap up their preseason schedule tonight. The Lakers are at home against Sacramento. Their regular season opener is Tuesday against Golden State. The Clippers are at Golden State tonight. They play their regular season opener Wednesday at Utah. The Rams are flying to London this morning after a week-long stay in Baltimore. They play Jacksonville Sunday morning. The Chargers are at home Sunday against the 5-1 Indianapolis Colts. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA